of spring.
Yes.
And you know,
sitting outside. It's beautiful.
How beautiful. It's so nice. So our regional property unplugged for another Tuesday. We're talking about auctions today. But first of all, I want to congratulate Mark on #1 salesperson, regional salesperson for Victoria, Tasmania for Ray White. Congratulations, dude. That is a cool thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, like it's obviously something that I knew that I was in the running for. It was based on our figures from last financial year. So, but obviously the last couple of months, they keep secret from us. There's a blackout period. So that's from end of April, where it's been one of those things. I knew I was in the top 3 there somewhere. Ooh. Like I was in contention, but you just don't know what's going to happen. So
yeah,
I edged out a guy from Warrnambool in the end, which was pretty cool. So massive privilege to be able to take that #1 out, and obviously goes back to my clients and everyone, and Tish, my assistant. We've got a really good team going, and yeah, it's been excellent. So very happy.
And not to mention top 10 for with Melbourne as well, like Metro as well. So that's massive. Top 10 in Victoria, Tasmania, far out.
Yeah. So
good on you,
I guess, yeah, I know the guys down there do some serious figures. Like they get some agents down around Melbourne in those high end areas that they sell some big properties. So we're like, the difference between us and them is we have to sell 70 properties a year. They probably, some of them only sell probably 15 to 20. So we are a volume area, because our values are a lot lower than down in Melbourne. So we have to work a lot harder. I mean, not necessarily harder, but we've got a lot more to do to get to the same level as they are. But absolutely, it was a great honour. I mean, it would have been nice if we were down at Crown Palladium like we normally are.
I know.
To win an award down there, get up on stage. The tuxedo, all that sort of stuff. It probably would have just been a bit, but still, the privilege is still there, and it's absolutely sensational. So I'm happy.
Good on you. Congratulations.
And also, Ray White Mildura is #1 regional office, which is, I know, something they've been striving for a few years now, and it's that's just another more evidence that we are massively taking market share here in Mildura. There's been some really strong offices around, particularly Victoria, Ballarat, Warrnambool. It's all friendly competition, obviously. But, it's a real credit to the sales team, to the guys there at Ray White for taking out #1 office. It's a good team to be part of, for sure.
It's an amazing team. I must admit, like, working with you guys, it's just been awesome. It's just, amazing team. So absolutely, it's a testament to what you guys do.
Yeah.
So how about the weekend? How did that play out? How's things going in the market?
Okay, so the weekends aren't as crazy as what they normally are, mainly because we can't do opens. But I'll give you a bit of a snapshot of our last the month of August. It was the last month of winter. We did, between Tish and I, and mainly Tish, we did 115 private inspections. So I don't know how many that works out per day of a weekday, but it's about 6 a day, and it is a lot of inspections. It's a lot of volume, a lot of people still looking in the market. It's a crazy amount of people. Look, normally we would see a lot of that same sort of amount of buyers maybe through opens, but these are people putting their hand up saying, "I'm in the market. I want to look at that house." So, and obviously we can only do that one at a time. So we've spent a lot of time at properties, taking buyers through, receiving plenty of offers. We sold 21 properties of the month of August, which is huge. Probably valued about $4.5 to $5 million worth of real estate just in August. So it was a massive month. Probably 90 of those inspections were that latter half of August too. So it's been solid, very busy, and I guess a testament to the market. Everyone asks, what's the market like? It's flat out. We're selling plenty of properties, so it's going good.
Excellent. So, which brings us to our topic today about auctions. Now, I know that some of us are confused, like why some properties are good for auctions, why they aren't, why do it for some vendors and not others. So, can you give us a rundown? Where do you want to start? I mean, why would you choose to do an auction as opposed to just a normal sale?
Okay. I think it really has to do with the property itself. It could be that it's quite a rare property. It could be that, and sometimes hard to price. Not all real estate is as simple calculated, yes, this is what it's worth. It's worth, 550 to 560. It's not like that. It's not even like that for every other property. There's always a window of maybe what a value is, and it could be a 10, 20, 25 to $50,000 value. Typically, you auction a property that is maybe hard to value. Therefore, if we struggle to value it, the vendors struggle to value it, then maybe there's a bit of confusion with buyers as well. So, the whole idea about selling property is obviously to get the best price. So we're looking to try and maximize the vendor's return. It might be because it's in a CBD area. Since the development of the riverfront along the front of the rowers, I think CBD property has just had a target on it. It always has, but I think more so the idea of people spending more time down the river, being able to walk their dogs or kids or grandkids or whatever it is, and go to Shippies or go to Bobby and Me. It's a real lifestyle thing now. So if it's a CBD property, if it's a river property, if it's a rural property, it might be a lifestyle property out of town that's, again, hard to value, that it's got things about it that that buyers are going to fall in love with.
Mm-hmm.
Buying real estate is an emotive thing. It's a very emotional process. And I think that the properties that that you're going to have buyers potentially fighting over it because it's hard to replace or hard to find, they're the ones that we decide to take to auction.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So do you have to actually give a price range when you go to auction?
Yeah, you do. And look, that came into effect probably 3 years ago now. We have to provide a statement of information price. The reason we do this, and we have from the REIV point of view, is that, I don't know if you remember, but there was a lot of underquoting of properties down in Melbourne, probably up 3 to 5 to 6 years ago. Agents were saying that, okay, yeah, this property is going to sell for 700. They were getting loads and loads and loads of buyers to auctions, and then they were ultimately selling for 1.2, 1.3, 1.4.
Right.
It was basically a lure of getting them in to try and get their hopes up, hence get more bidders, hence get a higher result. So I think a lot of buyers down there were getting frustrated by the fact that they were never really in contention to buying these properties. They were told, maybe misled by agents, and told that they were going to be in with a shot. If you were looking around this price range, and then, naturally the price goes up and up and up, competition pushed it up. So I think there was a lot of complaints. They came up with a system, and it was a price range. It's got to be a 10% price range. It's like our buyer range in private sales.
Yeah.
Every auction property has to have a statement of information. We have to provide an indicative price range. It might be 5 to 550 or whatever it is. And we've got to provide evidence of 3 properties that are similar or similar-ish, if there is a property similar, that have sold within a 5K radius in that same price range in the past 3 months, or 6 months. So there's got to be evidence we've got to show evidence of why we think it will fall in that price range. So we're very governed. We're tightly governed by the RIV and Consumer Affairs. It's one of those things that we have to do the right thing. We have to make sure we're providing good evidence to why we think a price is where it is. Now, it doesn't mean we have to advertise the property with a price range, but we have to have that statement of information available in the back end.
Right. Okay. Yep. That makes sense. So, and I mean, it's quite strict, isn't it? Like, there's really strict laws around this. Like, there's dummy bids are illegal.
Yep.
So, and you're allowed to have a vendor's bid. What do you call that?
Yeah, you're talking about a vendor bid. Yeah. So, so basically, if the auctioneer is going through the process of, doing the auction, and I guess no one's putting their hand up to start with, they can actually do a vendor bid, a bid on behalf of the vendor. So they might say, all right, we would like to start the auction here. So they might put a bid in. So if we're talking 550 is the price range, they might start the bidding at 4 or 450 or something like that.
Yeah.
We want to encourage people to bid. The biggest mistake some auctioneers make is that they'll start up really high. Oh, why don't you start at 800? Or why don't you start at 700? And then they try and encourage buyers. Buyers know what things are worth. They're pretty savvy. And if they're looking for something like this they'll have an idea of what they are prepared to pay. So, you know, it's about encouraging buyers to put their hand up and get involved in the auction process. You know, once they've got their hand up, they're more likely to put their hand up again. So we always encourage bidders to start somewhere. If there isn't that, then we have the ability to do a vendor bid. If we are at a point and we're still a little away from the reserve, we have the ability to put a vendor bid in still. So I think New South Wales, you can only do one. Victoria, you can do as many as you like. So yeah, there's rules. It just can allow the auction to keep going. I guess the risk if you vendor bid over the top of someone else's bid, if it passes in, then you got, you know, that right to negotiate is gone. So
Yeah.
you might lose the momentum of an auction if you keep doing vendor bids. So
Okay.
there's a bit of an art to it, and I think that where you do it, when you do it, etc., comes down to the individual property, the individual marketing campaign, how many bidders we think we're going to have, and potentially how far away we might be from the reserve. So yeah, there's a lot of strategy involved in auctions.
Okay, so there's lots of people that, like, there's a bit of fear, a bit of stigma around auctions. Yeah. Why are people scared about auctioning?
I started real estate in 2002, and they were never. You maybe see a few auctions a year. Everyone said auctions didn't work in Mildura. It was just something that, you know, people didn't like to do. Whereas you go to the cities and they're everywhere, right? You know, every second property is via auction. Yeah. But then you might have some suburbs that don't play in that space at all. So, but at the end of the day, you know, there's a natural fear, and they can be very, very nerve-wracking. And I always say to my clients, are you prepared to go through an auction campaign? I believe that this is the best campaign for you. And I believe it's the best strategy for you. You've just got to be, you know, you've got to be ready to you know, take it and go all the way to auction.
Yeah, I was going to say, what does it take? What does it take to be ready to go through?
Willing to get the best price, you know, because you know you're going to get the best price at auction, because the emotion takes over and bidders just keep going. So it is, you know, that you're going to get your best price. And we've seen time and time again where we've had one recently that, because we can't do on-site auctions, 2 bidders fought it out $170,000 over reserve, like a huge result. So when they want it and in the spirit of the auction and they're bidding, they'll continue to go. And we've seen some outstanding results through the auction campaign. And it's because the buyer does not want to miss out, and they'll keep going higher until they buy it. You know, everyone has a limit. They always tend to go over their limit when it comes to auctions. So,
well, there's a real,
but, you know,
energy.
Yeah, that's right. You've seen a few of our auctions, haven't you? And you know, the strategy behind making sure that the vendors understand potentially how it's going to play out, where each bidder is, you know, it's a very in-depth campaign. It is. I'm catching up with the vendors all the time. They know exactly what's happening, and they know exactly potentially where every bidder's potentially going to be or thinking about bidding or where they might start. So, but it's a very nervous time. I get really nervous. Like, it's just the way it is. I get extremely nervous. It seems to be a bit of a lead up to the auction, and then actually through the auction, that's when I start to go, and then it seems to be straight after the auction, and typically we're getting a result. It's a really overwhelming sensation.
Yeah.
You know,
I've seen you celebrate. You know, you celebrate hard because it's so emotional. There's tears from the vendors. There's tears from the buyers. Like, there's just a massive energy, a massive vibe around auctions that I actually, it's like a show. Like, when I rock up to one of the auctions and I'm just coming to, you know, might have been a house that I've styled or helped style. And I turn up and there's, you know, it's like a show's about to start, and it's just, it's actually really exciting.
I often always think back, and I've mentioned this before in these crosses. I often think back to Magnolia, Critter and Moggy's house, and the crowd that was there. You know, seems so long ago because we could actually have crowds at auctions, you know, and we can't even get people through, you know, open inspections at the moment. There's so much strategy behind that, you know, you don't see it from the outside, but I knew I had a really good feeling of where I thought people would jump into the auction, and that was just through talking to people. And those guys, those vendors took a real risk in putting the reserve where they did, even though we had an offer above it, to try and encourage more bidders. It was a real risk for them, but it was a risk that I think they needed to take to actually get the very best price. And you know, they could have taken a first up offer at the first open, but it was on my advice that they continue through the process, and it was a $20,000-$30,000 decision that they did that. And $20,000-$30,000 goes well towards a new shed or half a pool or whatever it is. So, you know, and that's why because it was a bit of risk from all of us in that auction. A massive amount of relief at the end of it. Huge amount of emotion from the vendors. The buyer, she was just ecstatic, still is, loves it, absolutely loves the house. And you know, it was just a really, really good campaign.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Talking of campaigns, are campaigns for auctions longer than you would for a normal sale?
No, this is the biggest thing about auctions. Your average days on market are almost half of the time.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why auctions are such a great thing, because you know pretty quickly. And I'll use an example of the Cherry Avenue auction, the townhouse we did. It was probably early July that sold. It was the 3rd of July. I found those first three bidders at the first open. I knew that they were all going to bid, and it really, we just had to wait out that process. You find your buyers really, really quickly. We usually do a 3-week campaign. We don't need to stretch it out to 4 or 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Because you do find your buyers really quickly. They'll make a decision on whether they're going to bid. You know, you're an unconditional bidder. You come to auction, you bid, you buy, it's sold immediately. There's no cooling off period. You know, it's a done deal. So, you know, it's absolutely a quicker campaign from a days on market point of view. So you might have days on market with auctions are probably averaging anywhere around 20 to 25 days. Your days on market with a private sale are 35 to 40, maybe more sometimes. So you get a result a lot quicker.
Yeah. Okay. So is it like the beneficial part of an auction process, like having the buyers that are unconditional already? Because in an auction process, you can't bid unless it's guaranteed, right? Because it's like you can't back out of your bid.
No, that's it.
So
you pay your deposit, it's sold. That's why you put, as soon as the auction's done, you put the sold sticker straight up. So I'll give an example. We've just had a 5-week finance clause finally fall over yesterday of a property. So not only was it on the market for 2 weeks, we've gone 5 weeks. The finance we thought was fine. The bank said it was fine. It got to a certain point above the bank with lender's mortgage insurance and it fell over. So, which is really disappointing for the purchasers, extremely disappointing for the vendors. So now they're seven weeks in from when they finally first launched it. Now we've got to go back to the market. So you've got banks taking a long time to process loans. You've got banks, and then you've also got someone might have a subject to sale. So you've got to rely on that property to sell as well. So typically our auction campaigns are 3 weeks, and they're unconditional in that 3 weeks, you know, as soon as that auction's done. So probably the earliest, quickest finance clause I've had lately is just over 2 weeks in the last probably few months. Most of them are stretching out to 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. You know, and it's just depends on the bank, it depends on you know, their circumstance, whether they own a business. There's so many different things. But there's no rhyme or reason to it. Some are really slow. You'd think they'd be fast because they've got plenty behind them, but that's the biggest difference. You know, once that fall the hammer goes down, it is sold. The purchaser has to sign up. They have to go through the process of paying their deposit, and it's an unconditional.
You don't have to worry about the rest.
You do not have to worry about things falling over in 2 or 3 weeks' time. It's a done deal.
Wow,
I mean, they can walk away from a sale, but they lose their 10% deposit, and they lose. They can actually be sued. So there's a bit of risk for them to do that. But most people that are in a position to bid and buy at auction, you know, they know their finances. They know that that's what they want. They've bought it for the right reasons, and they'll continue through with it.
Yeah, cool. So you guys have got a great auction team, haven't you? Who are your auctioneers?
Okay, so we've got. I don't do them. With my properties, I like to talk to the buyers through the auction campaign.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Which
through
is
the
really
actual
cool.
auction itself. You need
Yeah.
to. You need someone on the ground. You can't just stand back and expect the buyers are going to put their hand up if they haven't got some assistance. And some buyers don't know what to do. I always discuss with them prior to the auction that I'll come and talk to them and help them, and I'll bid on their behalf if they want to. It's a really. It is a real team thing. You know, if you're hoping that the auction's going to do all the work and everyone's going to stand back and just make sure that people bid, well, then you're not doing the best thing for your vendors. So Luke Hermans is one of our auctioneers. He's a gun. He's very good. He's young, loves it, thrives auction process. Craig Kerr's been doing it for years. You know, again, loves the auction process. Does a lot of them himself as well. He was the agent that did the one recently. It went for 170 over. So we have a really good understanding of the auction process. We have a really good system behind it. But it's really important that you've got someone on the ground that can work with the buyers, because some buyers, and I think the Magnolia auction, I remember one of my bidders, he was just like, I could see him visibly shaking. He was so nervous. And I said to him, I'll do the bidding on your behalf. And it's literally go to him, go to the next bidder, making sure we're exhausting absolutely every bid out of every buy at the auction to make sure that they don't walk away later going, I wish I had gone an extra couple of grand. I really, you know, they lament the fact that they didn't buy that property for years. So sometimes it's about giving them a little bit of assistance and helping them through that process, and making them understand that that if they don't put their hand up right now, that you know, it's gone. They're not buying it. And the other thing is, if it does get passed in and doesn't meet reserve, which doesn't happen that often, but if it does, then if they're the highest bidder, they're the first, that they have the right to negotiate first. So they would go straight, we'd take them straight inside, right? You're the highest bidder. This is the vendor as reserve. Are you prepared to go there? And then we negotiate.
Okay. Yeah, it's really cool. It sounds like a really cool process to be handheld, because it's you know, you guys know what you're doing. We don't know what we're doing, but I think it's very important to have someone on the ground, like you said. And I did notice one auction, you know, there's some of your team on the phone to other bidders as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you know, you keep each other informed, and it's a really cool thing to watch.
Look, you'll see, if you come to a Ray-White auction, you'll see that there's a fair few of us on the ground. And, you know, it might be me going to 3 or 4, but you'll actually see some of the agents go off and talk to bidders that they know personally as well, because we know a lot of the buyers and the bidders in the market at that time. So you'll see them go off and stand next to them and hold their hand through the process, because it is nerve-wracking for us, nerve-wracking for the vendors, but it's super nerve-wracking for buyers as well. You know, putting themselves on the line to buying a property via auction. So, you know, it's something that we do really well as a team, and that's the critical thing, is that we're all helping each other, making sure that the buyers are either the one that's, you know, got the final bid, and then the vendors getting a result that they never dreamed of.
I think you've just changed my mind. I was against auctions myself, and I'm sold. I think I'm there. It's great.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. I don't have any questions at all today, but that's cool. I think there's been pretty informative session that we've had. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I just think it's just a matter of discussing. Like, if there's someone out there that's thinking, I don't know if my property would be good at auction or whether it should just go to private sale. It literally just comes down to the property and whether the vendor is willing to go the auction process. So it's really just about having a deadline to that campaign. You know, the buyers know that if they don't get there and have a look at it by the 10th of September or whatever it is, that they're probably going to miss out on it. So it's about making sure that we have, you know, something to work towards. They can be sold prior as well. You know, and that's why we say, oh, absolutely, yeah. So if someone comes in red hot, and really, really want to buy it, typically they'd need to be an unconditional buyer. I'm reluctant ever to take a conditional offer prior to auction, because if you take it off the market and then again it falls over, you got to go back to the market. So yes, they can be sold prior. It just, again, it depends on the amount of interest we've got at the time, and I guess the amount of potential bidders we might have, and again, every campaign's different.
Yeah, there you go. That's cool.
So I've got one 7 Cherry Avenues current campaign, hoping that by the 18th of September, which is the auction day, we'll be back able to conduct that on site. So it'll be, if anyone's thinking about an auction process, you know, it might be a good one to come and have a look at, right near the Arts Centre there. So I think that'll be, a really good spot. Beautiful little home. Not little, it's actually a good size home. Very unique. It's got a, you'd love it. It's got a great vibe. You know it. You've been there. You know
I've been there. I've been there. I know the one.
Yeah. So it's a ripper.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, you know, and I've often invited vendors to come down to auctions just to see maybe what would happen. And you know, and sometimes they walk away going, you know what, that's pretty cool. I think that's right for my property, and let's do it. And that's happened before.
When's that coming up, Mark?
18th of September is the auction date. So it's, you know, CBD property, you're literally 200 meters from the river, like from Lock 11 there. It's so close, right near the Arts Centre. It's, again, for everyone that's gone through, they want to go down to Shippies. They want to walk that track. They want to be able to walk up the street and have a wine and not worry about driving. And that's what that sort of lifestyle is about. And that's what is really popular at the moment. So
I'm putting that in my diary. That's gorgeous.
Put it in your calendar. Yeah, hopefully we'll be on site by then.
It'd be a nice, beautiful day out if it's anything like today. Wow.
And tomorrow, 29.
29?
29. Playing in the pool.
I'm going to fill mine up.
Yeah.
All right, so that's cool. So that's, all right, so that's, go see some auctions. They're actually quite fun. Like I said, it's like a show for me. I love it. It's really nice. It's really exciting. So next week we've got a guest. We're talking about insurances. Is that correct?
We are. We're getting right into how, you know, not just house insurance, but contents. You know, everything. If there's any questions or people are wondering about that sort of stuff, we've got Peter Palazzo on, so he'll be good.
Hey.
And yeah, so that'll be an interesting one for anyone that's interested in that.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. Well, I don't think we do have any questions. So yeah, next week, Tuesday, 11 o'clock. Good luck on the weekend.
Thank you.
Get some cool results. And yeah, happy first day of spring, everyone. Thank God it's here.
Thanks, Shona.
All right. We'll see you next week. Catch up.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.